I'm Gold Derby News and Features Editor Ray Richmond, and I'm welcoming Dean Zimmerman from the Netflix hit Stranger Things to our TV Editors Meet the Experts panel. Dean, I'd ask you how much your job in cutting the show has changed since you started it way back in 2016, but it's obvious from watching your Emmy submission episode, the epic season 4 finale, The Piggyback. Oh my God, 2 hours and 20 minutes, 300 scenes. Seemingly a new storyline introduced every 5 minutes. How are you even still here in one piece talking?
It was definitely a challenge, and to be fair, that's 2 hours and 20 minutes after almost 12 hours prior, which is, season 3 was just under, 8 hours of material with 8 episodes. And season 4 has 9 episodes and clocked in at just under 13 hours. So yeah, it was quite the hill to climb, to say the least.
It has to be an all-time record for an episode of a regular series, 140 minutes, 3 times longer than the normal length. I mean, for a television editor, that's got to be like running the Boston Marathon. Suddenly you're basically cutting a feature, and a ridiculously complex one at that. And not only that, then there's so many elements to keep track of. How long did it take you to cut The Piggyback? How much help did you have?
So the Piggyback definitely took, listen, it took a long time to shoot as well, just because of the complexity of everything. So Kat Naranjo, who edits, has been with us since season 1. We collaborated last season on the finale. So we have a really great shorthand. So definitely enlisted her help. Also having to pick up the whole season because we lost an editor. With Nat having to go, it was just a very big daunting task. So yeah, it definitely required lots of help. Also had Casey Sahaki, who was nominated with me last year. He definitely, it was all hands on deck, to be perfectly honest, because the amount of material we were getting, and also it was the finale. It was the longest episode, but it was also the one where it required the most attention because it had 1,200 visual effects shots in it. Which was almost a third of what we had for the season. So it was massive, and all that had to be done and approved and turned over to get started, so we could not only make it, but that it could look as good as it did, which is another testament to the show and how daunting of a task that we had to do in such a short amount of time.
Yes, so you're editing around all these 1,200 CGI visual effects, as you just said, and it's all state-of-the-art stuff. So, I mean, what a puzzle to put together. My God.
It was, and just let's throw everything into this one episode, right? So we had a CG creatures, we have these, massive location changes. We have all the different storylines that were going along. Like you said, introducing all these new characters, or wrapping up all these characters, if you will. And let's just throw a music video in there. So it's definitely, it definitely, encapsulated the spectrum of complexity for editing, for sure.
Yeah, how did coordinating the story and visuals to a Metallica video, how did that manifest itself? I mean, was that like almost like editing a separate episode in itself?
For sure. And it was honestly one of the hardest things to do because scripted, it's easy to write stuff and say, oh, I want, the music to start here and I want the lyrics to start here. But when you're dealing with CG creatures and time, right? That was the hardest part, is to make those beats happen within the constraints of a song that you're trying to cut to, along with the choreography of all the stuff that needs to happen within that. So that was definitely very complex. We had to do a lot of magic in music editing. We had to do a lot of magic in re-recording some of the guitar with one of James Hatfield's son, actually we recorded the guitar in the beginning so that we can extend it and so we can hit the beats that we needed to. But that was definitely the most complex editing that we had to do on the season. And for me, just that was a muscle that was great to flex and to work really hard. Because again, you're dealing with CG creatures, you can time it out in your head, but until you actually see the animation, you have to also make sure the animation is believable. So all that kind of push and pull, all the departments from sound to music to visual effects and editorial all had to work in perfect harmony to make that sequence actually happen.
This is a radically different show that you're editing now than it was when you started off. I mean, it's like it's not even in the same galaxy.
We've definitely upped the ante for sure. And the complexity, really, that's really the trajectory that we've been following since season 1. Is we kind of started out as this like Goonies meets, Stand By Me kind of thing, and now we've kind of turned into Nightmare on Elm Street on steroids with CG creatures. So it's definitely it's definitely grown. But I think that's what the Duffers really intention was, is to have the show grow with the kids and the audience to grow with the kids. And with that, you're able to kind of push the envelope, if you will, with the horror and the gore and all that kind of stuff that got incorporated into season 4. That kind of, we pushed the envelope a little bit, and people seem to respond and like it. And we'll see what happens with the next season, the last season, I should say.
Assuming you're still able to function.
For sure.
Did you work? How closely do you work with the Duffer brothers on this stuff? I mean,
very.
They're real hands-on.
Very hands-on, and right from the start, we really connected as just individuals. We've kind of had this weird kinship as far as how our brains work and telling the story. We're all kind of on the same page, so they have the utmost trust in me to be able to experiment and try things, but at the end of the day know that I'll give them exactly what they want. So it's been great, and for all intents purposes, it's really kind of that kind of freedom in the cutting room has led to lots of wonderful kind of surprises and enhancements to and listen, it also helps them grow to help write and do some stuff. They've from the very start, I kind of approached a few scenes with more of a comedic eye than that what originally was written, which is more of a dramatic tone, and so they've definitely used that springboard, if you will, to have license to write more comedy into the scripts, which is what you really, really need to maintain that balance of the horror and the watchability and the likability of all the characters, to have those comedic moments and those moments of pause.
Dean, that's all the time we have. I hope you're caught back up on your sleep. Good luck to you.
We're getting there.
Good luck to you at the forthcoming Emmys. You can see all 4 seasons of Stranger Things, including all of season 4, streaming on Netflix. Thanks for joining us at Gold Derby.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.